Hi, students, and welcome to today's lesson. I'm Mrs. Quarterman. Today, we will explore the question, how does the night sky change throughout a year? Are you ready? Grab your pencil and your science journal, and let's get started. Wow, look at all these maps. I see a road map, a time zone map, a world map, and a map of the Polynesian Islands. But have you ever seen a star map? This is a star map. It's also known as a star chart. A star map shows the stars that are visible in the night sky from a specific location on Earth at a specific time. This map shows the stars that are visible in the night sky from Topeka, Kansas in January 2017. The map also has lines connecting the stars to show constellations. For example, look at the Gemini constellation. You can see the lines that are connecting the stars in this constellation. Unlike most maps, you don't look down at a star map. You hold the star map over your head as if you are looking up at the stars. Like many maps, we see the cardinal directions on our star maps. These cardinal directions on the outer ring of the star map correspond to the horizon and those directions. Let's see if we can read the star map. What constellations appear near the southern horizon? I see Pubis is closest to the southern horizon. The constellation Canis Major is also nearby. What constellations appear directly overhead? The constellation Auriga is close to the middle of the map, so if you were in Topeka in January, it would appear almost directly overhead in the sky. Great work! Let's look a little closer at the star map. Do you notice any familiar constellations? Go ahead and point to the ones you see. I notice Ursa Major and Ursa Minor. Do you remember when we talked about the star Polaris? Polaris is part of the Ursa Minor constellation. Do you recognize any other stars or constellations? How about Orion? Do you remember which star is part of Orion? Betelgeuse. And we already pointed out Canis Major. The star Sirius is part of this constellation. Now here's another star map from Topeka, Kansas, but this one is from July 2017. What do you notice? This map also shows stars and constellations, but I also noticed the pattern of stars looked different. We found Ursa Minor on the January map. Can you find it on the July map? Go ahead and point to it. There it is. Does it look the same as the map from January? It doesn't. It's pointing in a different direction, but the star Polaris still looks like it is in the same place on both maps. Interesting. As you look at these two maps, what do you wonder? Are you wondering why some of the stars are in different places at different times of the year? For example, look at how the constellations Ursa Major and Boots have moved on these two star maps. Do you wonder whether the stars move in predictable ways? Today we will use star maps to learn how the night sky changes throughout a year. Let's start by thinking back to our model. How did we model the position of stars in the sky in our classroom? We place the stars on the walls, ceiling, and floors to represent how stars are located all around the sun, earth, and moon in space. And now, looking at our star maps, we see that stars are in different places at different times of the year. How can we use star maps to investigate patterns of star visibility throughout a year? Well, maybe we could compare star maps from different months to see how the constellations change location in the sky. But before we begin investigating, we want to make sure we are conducting a fair test. So, when analyzing star maps to investigate patterns of star visibility, what variables should be the same? I think the star maps should be from the same location and from the same time of night. That way we will be able to track any changes. We will use star maps from Topeka, Kansas. But a fair test also has one variable that we change. What variable should we change? Well, since we are looking for a pattern and how the star's positions change over time, we should get star maps from different months. We have one map from January 2017 and one map from July 2017. So now we can compare these two different star maps to determine which constellations are visible each month. How can we more easily compare which constellations are visible each month? Are you thinking we probably need to record the constellations we observe? I agree. Here is a table listing several constellations. We can use this table to record the constellations visible on each star map we look at. Let's start with January. I will read the name of a constellation, and you see if you can point to it on the star map. Are you ready? The first constellation listed on your chart is Ursa Major. Do you see Ursa Major on our chart? Point to it. There it is. Since it is visible, let's place a check in the column under January. How about Ursa Minor? We saw this one earlier, so let's go ahead and check it off. We also saw Canis Major earlier, so we can check it off as well. How about Leo? Can you point to Leo? Leo is there near the eastern horizon, so we can add another check to the chart. Orion is another one we already noticed, so let's add it to the list. Now how about Cygnus, Virgo, Hercules? I'll give you a moment to try to find these constellations. I don't see them, do you? These aren't on this star map, which means they were not visible in January 2017. So we won't add checks for these three. Last one, Gemini. Can you spot Gemini? Right there. So we will add it to the list. Great work. Now let's look at July. Do you see Ursa Major and Ursa Minor? Point to them on the map. Both are on the July map, so we can check them both in our chart. How about Canis Major, Leo, Orion? Interesting. These three were on the January map, but now we can no longer see them on the July map. In January, we couldn't see Cygnus, Virgo, and Hercules. Can we see them now in July? Try to find them. Yes, there is Cygnus, Virgo, and Hercules, and finally Gemini. I can't find Gemini, can you? We saw Gemini in January, but it is not visible in July. Let's look at the 2 months together. What do you notice? Did you notice that Ursa Major and Ursa Minor were visible during both months? We can also see from our chart that Canis Major, Leo, Orion, and Gemini were visible in January, but not in July, while Cygnus, Virgo, and Hercules were visible in July, but not January. We noticed some changes between January and July, but I am not sure we have enough data to establish a pattern. For your task tonight, you will look at February and October star charts to determine the visibility of the stars for those months. We will add those months to our chart to see if we can determine a pattern of star visibility. You will also summarize what you have learned about stars in this lesson. Let's review your tasks for today. First, record the data from the star maps. Second, summarize what you learned about stars in this lesson.